What's up, everybody? This is your guy, Andrew Scott, with Favor in the Famine. I pray that you're having a blessed time whenever you're watching this. And this is part two of the 3H framework of effective accountability. Now, the first video, part one, if you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. The link is in the description in the comments. Go back and watch that because I broke down the three different H's: humility, honesty, and helpfulness as far as implementing and exemplifying effective accountability. So thank you so much for tuning in. So this is part two. So the purpose of this video, what you're going to learn from this video is why I'm going to deep dive into the humility aspect and why humility is so important to be an effective leader and to take effective accountability. I'm gonna give a real life example of how humility, the difference between humility and arrogance, and how that can make a big difference, and it can be so much more conducive by practicing humility. So first of all, humility is basically thinking of being confident in yourself, but not being not overly confident or cocky, or not thinking, as the good book says, not thinking of oneself more highly than others or more than he ought to. Now, of course, it is important. It is very imperative. It is esteemed to think of yourselves very confidently and be secure, and to have that type of energy, that type of aura, as people say, the quote unquote young people say. I know that's funny to be saying that right now. I know, but anyway. But yeah, just having that type of confidence. But when it gets to the point where one looks down on others, or they think that they're better than others, then that's where it's a problem. Now, being humble and being confident doesn't mean that you're insecure, that you're weak, or that you're not confident in yourself or your own ability. It just means that, okay, I'm not even comparing myself, because it even says, the good book says, it's not wise to compare yourself with other people especially in a certain extent, when you're gauging how other people are doing, and you're being distracted, not running your race, because you're looking at the person beside you all the time. It's kind of like in a real race. If somebody's in a relay, if somebody's in a race or a sprint or a marathon, and instead of running and keeping their eye on the finish line, they keep looking to the person beside them, they're going to eventually lose ground, lose speed, lose momentum, and their opposition or opponent is going to go past them. And even with them looking to their left or to the right too much, too frequently, they could potentially lose their balance and trip. Let's just be real. So basically, humility is so important. So humility and leadership. So a real life example. So I've had direct reports, and an incident that's happened where I've had a direct report, and just to protect their names and to make it anonymous, let's say, so John and Jill. So John, there was an incident where John, there was this actual package, as you can say, being made, that in this workplace, and my job was to ensure that the items in that package were packed correctly and accurately, and it was done correctly in the right way. So as excuse me, so as I was doing my walkthrough and doing my follow up and follow through, which is so important as a leader, make sure that you follow up and you follow through. Even on the basketball court, I know that was whack, but you got to hit that jump shot and follow through. So it's a double entendre. Follow through with your jump shot and follow through in leadership to ensure that tasks get done and that the communication loop is being closed. So that's something that I learned from somebody as well. Following, or as they call it, close the loop. I like following up and following through. So basically, I was doing my due diligence and making sure that I was following up to ensure that the package was handled or it was shipped correctly. And when I noticed that one of the items was shipped incorrectly, I asked John and Jill, hey, I asked them both separately, I asked John first. John said, no, Jill did it. They were actually working, they were tasked to work on it, complete it together. So I asked John. John said, no, it was Jill. I asked Jill separately. Jill said, no, it was John. So I said, okay. So whenever that happens, it is important, it is imperative to have that open space, that safe space, because there's a time and a season for everything. So there's a time when it is acceptable, it is actually permissible, or is permitted to talk to people separately, but after a while, you need to get them together where to make sure it's a safe space, open communication, to make sure everybody's on the same page. So me, I play sports. I love sports. I specifically basketball. So I know all the ins and outs as far as like not even on the court stuff, but the soft skills behind it as far as communication, as far as addressing certain issues, and accountability is one of them that I'm covering. This is part. Remember, this is part two. Accountability. So accountability and just that tough locker room talk. I mean, I'm talking about it was times in my high school. Shout out to my teammates, Terry High School. Whoop, whoop, so Terry High School, great class. Um, we weren't the elite as far as like record wise, but we were like we had invaluable talent and experience, not only in during that time, but it's translated into life. I still think of those moments where it's applicable in daily life. So, what I learned is there are gonna be some tough conversations where, you know, where it's not publicized, where it's not in the open, but it's in the hey, it's locker room. You shut the door in the locker room, y'all had that talk, and and as far as business and the workplace setting or business, I just separated them where it was like not even like to an office or to my office or anything, but it was just separated from everybody else. I just tossed them, collectively, and I said, hey, what happened? I noticed that item was wrong. So long story short, John's was Jill first said, well, because Jill's actually being trained by John, because John was like 15 years of experience in that position. And so he was tasked they were actually training together, but he was more so training in that certain workstation, but he was training her specifically on certain orders and shipping certain products, certain items. Excuse me. So then John got very defensive, and I'm talking about he was like embroiled with like something over he was overcome with like defensiveness, and almost, I don't want to say like rage, but it was almost like anger. And John was like, no, Jill did it. He was pointing everything and he was aggressive. I'm like, hello, John, like chill out, hold on, like, hey, it's all good. And I stopped and I mediated and I said, hey, it's okay. It's not about who did wrong or who's right, but what is right. This is a time, this is a learning experience. It's not necessary to be defensive. This is not the blame game. I iterated and reiterated that it's not a blame game. This is not a verbal beat up session. This is not, berating somebody. This is a time for us to learn and be on the same page so we can get this right in the future so it's not a recurring issue. I expected both of them to put their guards down. Jill put her guard down. And as I was talking, okay, so this product was incorrectly put in this order. This is the right product. Something sparked in John where he just instantly regurgitated the same thing, spewing the same thing. Like, no, no, Jill, she tried to tell me that you do it this way, and I've been here longer, and yada yada yada. So pause right there. What was John's problem? What is the root issue? What is the root cause? So underneath that layer, it's like a glacier. Underneath that layer of that defensiveness and that, apprehension to, what I'm saying, under the apprehension to take accountability, he was not being humble in that moment. So remember, that's the first step, is being humble. He was not, he didn't humble himself to be able to let his guard down, put his ego to the side, so he can take the next step of being honest slash transparent, and then the last step for him to be helpful. He couldn't get that past the first step of being humble. So that was John's main problem, that where he was stuck. So another issue was, I'm like, okay, um, number one, you're being aggressive like this not only in a business setting or at work, but you're making me uncomfortable because you're being this hostile. You're showing this hostility towards a woman. So hold up, pump your brakes. I separated John. I said, Jill, I apologize. I apologize for John. I said, I apologize. Just give us a moment. You know, I I told John to follow me around 10, 15 feet away from that area so he and I can talk separately. And I addressed to him, and that was the actual wonderful time. That was a pinpoint critical time for me to address that and for to me to coach him. And I said, John, what is the issue? John responded, no, because at first, now mind you, they already had issues before that, and this was kind of boiling up. So I said, what's the issue? She thinks that she knows more than me, yada, 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 yada. I said, okay, John, although you've been learning, you've been working here longer, have more experience, we can all learn something new from other people every day. That's how we learn, that's how we grow. I learn from other people. Other people, we all learn. That's the point of like maturing and evolving and developing. I said, number two, even if she doesn't, and even if she's wrong, why allow that to take you out of your character, lose your composure, and to be so aggressive and to be so defensive and to be so abrasive towards her? Really, like, why are you tripping, bro? Like, why? That's really what I want to say. I'm paraphrasing. Bro, like, why are you tripping? Like, you need to chill out. That's what I wanted to say. So, so he said, no. So the thing is, the incident that happened, I said, okay, I understand. But what is the real issue? So he thought about it. He kept talking. He kept saying, and I don't want to say rambling. He was just getting so off his chest. He was like, "Well, I already said, you know," because I said, like, what? And then I said, what triggers you? What makes you so angry? What makes you so mad when somebody either accuses you of something, or they try to claim or say that they know something, or they claim that they know something that you might not know? Like, why does that bother you? And he said, I forgot exactly what he said, but he was basically saying that I guess he doesn't like it when that happens. I said, okay, John, so it bothers you when somebody accuses you of something. And I said, as a leader, I look at you, we look at you, John, because you've been here longer, because you have more knowledge than she does. We look to you in those situations when adversity occurs, you step up. You keep your composure. You're composed. You're cool, calm, and collected. You're a cucumber. Like, you don't let nothing get to you. Not nothing, but you don't get easily rattled like somebody who recently just started working, or somebody who's just being having that exposure, or somebody just being familiar with this setting or this situation or this environment. You've been here longer. You have more knowledge. You have more experience. You have more wisdom. So we expect you to be the go-to person to lead by example. And in those situations, don't get rattled. Be humble. Keep your composure. We expect that. behavior that you're displaying from somebody who just started, from a quote unquote rookie. And I also said the second thing is you said that you don't like it. You get defensive when somebody accuses you of something or makes it seem like they know more than you do. I said, John, I'm like, you got to pick your battles. That's another point. Hear me. You have to pick your battles. You can't fight every battle unless if you do, you're going to exert too much energy. You're going to be too exhausted. You're going to be too weary to win the war. The race is not given to the swift, but it's the person who endures. You have to endure and you have to let certain things go. That's another part of humility. You have to learn to let certain things go and pick your battles. Now, if John had done that, if he had just picked his battles, kept his composure, and been humble, that situation would not have blown out of proportion. It would have not escalated to that matter. And I was slick. I was low key disappointed because I'm like, John, like, I expected more from you, bro. Like, come on. I look to you to be the leader. I look to you to, like I said, I look to you to keep your composure. I look to you to set that example. As leaders, we have to be accountable to set the example for other people. If we can't be an example, we can't let certain things go and keep our composure and set the example for other people, then other people won't follow the right path. They won't follow and fulfill the mission and the assignment and push the mission and push the vision. So remember, use humility to be, and so you can take the next step to be honest, and after that, be helpful so that you can exemplify true, excellent, trustworthy leadership. And I will deep dive more into that in the next video. So remember, use these steps of humility. Remember this example to pick your battles, keep your composure, and learn and let certain things go to exemplify excellent leadership. And if you haven't seen watch the first video. Watch the first video here. It's going to be over here in this area. And subscribe over here in this area to my YouTube channel, my YouTube page. And also, this will be posted on Facebook as well. Y'all be blessed. Remember, keep your composure, pick your battles, be humble, exemplify excellence, spirit of excellence, and exemplify excellent leadership. Favor the Famine. I'm Andrew Scott. Catch y'all next time, Famine Fam. Y'all be blessed.